Welcome back to the Richard Sherman podcast. We're here, finally, the first Sunday of the season, and it was a doozy. Some great early games, but you know the game I'm ready to talk about, Mitchell, is the Sherman Bowl. The San Francisco 49ers at the Seattle Seahawks, the game I've been looking forward to. You notice I haven't really been wearing the hats, Mitchell, because I was going to let to the winner goes the spoils, Mitchell. And the San Francisco 49ers pull out a win and a hard-fought defensive battle. I loved what I saw from both teams. And I know your Detroit Lions took a tough loss, but hang in there, Mitchell. It's a long season.
I'm hanging in there. But, Richard, let's talk about these Niners and Seahawks, because I know you were looking forward to this game. And, hey, the 49ers, you know what? Rightfully so, you wear their cap. I know the Seahawks fans are going to be saying, hey, why is Richard wearing the 49ers cap? But to the winner, go the spoils. And, Richard, there's a lot to talk about in this game. Let's start Brock Purdy and his performance. What did you think about how he handled this game? 17-13, not your typical run-and-gun game that we would expect out of these foes, but the 49ers get the win, and it's important for them.
Mitchell, I was concerned. And I was concerned coming into this game. I thought it would go about how it went. My greatest concern being the health of the San Francisco 49ers and how it was on the edge of a knife. And, of course, right on cue, George Kittle having a dominant first quarter, dominant first drive. Looks like, oh, my God, he's another all-pro season loading, and it still probably will be. Then a hamstring injury takes him out. And you're like, oh, my God. Okay, so without George, what are we going to do? And that was the big question. After that first touchdown drive, the team stalled in a big way. They leaned on Christian McCaffrey, who had a really, really phenomenal game. I think they said his 20, maybe 30, I forget what number, but game with 50 yards receiving and 50, maybe 41st, 50 yards kept receiving and 50 yards rushing, tying Marshall Faulk during his time. But I thought if they lose George Kittle, where are they going to go with the football? Ricky Pearsall had a solid game, had a really good game, actually. But you need other places to put the ball. Juwan Jennings caught 2 passes, had 5 targets, but also got banged up in the game. And I was thinking to myself, this is the scenario I think that helps the Seattle Seahawks pull this game out. That's the scenario in which I thought the Seattle Seahawks are walking away with the victory. They're at home. They got the crowd into it. Their defense played a phenomenal game, picked off Brock Purdy twice in this ball game. And after those 2 interceptions, my concern level for the way Brock Purdy was playing was really high because he was just trying to make a play for his team. When you don't have the weapons out there, you don't have guys separating, you're going to try to make happen with the guys that you have. And even the touchdown to Chonchus, I was holding my breath. I was holding my breath for both ways because Tariq Woolen, who I love to death, was standing right there in position to make a play in this game. I think that would have been the dagger that ended this game. That would have been the backbreaker. Tariq Woolen, back of the end zone. I thought when Brock Purdy sidearmed that thing to the back of the end zone, I thought, either he's throwing it away or this is a book. Like, this is going to be his 3rd pick of the day. And what happened was, it's one of those things, Mitchell, that you can't coach, and it's hard to explain to these to kids sometimes, the sense of urgency that it takes in the National Football League. When you want to be great, you have to, it's such a sense of urgency and a sense of desperation you got to play with. Like, when that ball's in the air, Mitchell, it's not like I'm going to wait for my food to get to my plate. I got to go hunt it. I can't wait for the ball to get to my hands. I'm on defense. He's not throwing the ball to me. I got to go get it. It's rarely going to be a time where somebody goes and jumps in front of me and grabs a book grabs the pass in front of me. It probably has happened, but it's not because I'm not just desperate and scratching and clawing and doing everything I can to go get that ball. It's because they knew what was coming. They knew the play, et cetera, and they went downhill. In that play, you can't wait for it. You cannot wait for the football. And Tonches, went out there and grabbed the football. It was unfortunate. They had the double move late in the game. Ricky Pearsall it looked like a 7 pump The same play I was talking about on Cam Hayward's podcast that Calvin Johnson ran, first play of the game when we played Detroit that year. 7 pump. And it looked like Tariq Woolen was in great position. He was in phenomenal position, and then he stuttered. And that's the point. He lost that rep. He looked like he just misjudged the ball a little bit. He took 2 stutter steps, and that was it. If he would have just kept his momentum, kept his stride going, I think he has a chance to book that football. I think he has a chance to pick that football off. So he could have picked that one. He could have picked the one in the end zone. And those are the little things. Those are when you talk about a game of inches in those critical moments, those are the plays. He had a great play earlier in the game on a touch in what appeared to be a touchdown on an out or 7 route to Ricky Pearsall, and he got it by a tip of his fingertips. Same corner I tipped the football with. It was a beautiful play. But you got to keep that up. And that's the growth of him as a player and for this defense, because I thought this defense, the Seattle Seahawks defense, played a phenomenal game. I thought the D-line was aggressive. They were assertive. DeMarcus Lawrence was all over the place. He showed his value. Ernest Jones with the interception, but also a ton of run stops. Tyrese Knight was all over the field. Kobe Bryant, huge stops. Julian Love blocks a field goal. Witherspoon was all over the place. Nick Emmenwari went out with a knee injury early, but he looked like he was set for a good game. So you saw a lot of positive things from that defense. The concern is on the offensive side for the Seattle Seahawks, where it just seemed like they were a little bit too conservative. When they had to have it and they had to push the ball down the field, Sam Darnold let off a beautiful pass to JSN, to Jackson Smith and Jigba. Beautiful, 41-yard gain, and that leaves you questioning, where was this earlier? Where were these explosive passes earlier? Why didn't you push the ball down the field earlier? And I know when you have a defensive head coach and you're a defensive team, you say, hey, we just don't want to make a mistake. You don't want to make a mistake. You don't want to lose the game that way. But you also have to trust that, hey, all the work these guys have put in, they're going to get it done. And you got to lean on those guys. I thought that was a phenomenal play. I thought the real critical play for the Seattle Seahawks offense that I thought lost the game, and that it was the drive before the final drive of the game for them. And the play was the pass to Cooper Kupp on 3rd down, where it looked like he got knocked out of bounds, and it looked like he could have maybe reached the ball over and gotten it. And you see receivers do that all the time and gotten that 1st down. He didn't. It was 4th down and less than a yard. Those are the coaching decisions that make or break coaches. Like, hey, you could go for that and say, hey, they got stopped and man, that lost them the game. Or you go for that right there, and that's the decision that wins you the game. But when you're conservative and you go for 3, and then the other team turns around and goes down the field and scores a touchdown, then you come back and you drive the ball down the field, force fumble, and it doesn't go your way, then everybody second guesses that decision anyway and say, well, it was less than a yard. Your defense has been playing phenomenal. Why wouldn't you go for it there? At worst, you believe your defense can stop them. And in best case scenario, you get it. You get the first. You run the clock down to almost nothing, kick a field goal, and you win the game. So I think it's just a great learning experience, and that's how great teams are built. You learn from these moments. But on the opposite side, for the San Francisco 49ers, what a game. Welcome back, Robert Saleh. Welcome back, Robert Saleh. It was beautiful. It was a beautiful defensive game. The young guys learned. I mean, they had a bit of a rough first drive. A lot of the yards and success that the Seattle Seahawks had came on that first drive. They drove right down the field. Obviously, they had the help of a penalty, but so did the San Francisco 49ers in their first drive, but they didn't get the stop. They went to the sideline, made the necessary adjustments, and they got stops. Fred Warner was all over the field. D. Winters looked incredible. Great open field tackle on K9 in the open field multiple times. He was flying around. Singh was flying around. Diamador Lenore was throwing people over the pile, got a penalty, but he was setting a tone. And on the defensive line, you just seen everybody just being stout, doing their job, being where they're supposed to be, tackling how they're supposed to tackle. And Renardo Green, he gave up the 41-yarder to JSN, but I thought he played a solid game. Outside of that, I thought he tackled well. I thought Upton Stout did a good job for a rookie in his first time playing. He had that pass interference that pushed the ball to the 1-yard line on 4th down for the Seattle Seahawks. But I thought he played a really solid game, and I think this gave the fans for both teams a lot of confidence that their defenses are legit. Their coordinators, their schemes, their players are legit, and they made necessary plays. Both teams got a turnover. The San Francisco 49ers, John Bosa. That's the difference between good and great teams is closers. Closers. And that's what any coach would tell you. You have to close out games. And John Bosa is the closer. Mitchell, he back-to-back great plays in that game. I think he had a TFL to play before. The next play pushes Abe Lucas into the quarterback's lap, literally into Sam Darnold's arm. Ball pops out. He recovers it. Ball game. Seattle Seahawks were in scoring position, had all the momentum, all the control, and bang, game over. You need your big-time players to make big-time plays in big-time moments, and guess what? That is why they pay them the big bucks.
Well, this is why they call it the Sherman Bowl, Richard. You've done a lot of talking on this game, and I love it. We got to talk about Jake Moody. This kicking situation in 49er territory is dicey, to say the least. Jake Moody, all last year we talked about it, and he struggled immensely. And he was great at the University of Michigan. As much as I hate U of M, he was phenomenal. And Richard, it's like he comes to the NFL and forgets how to kick. He clanked one off the post, 27-yarder, and then gets another one blocked. At what point does the 49ers organization say, hey, enough's enough? There's enough good kickers in the free agent market that could probably do a hell of a lot better job than this kid. Your thoughts on Jake Moody? Because I know the 49ers fan base is wondering when enough is going to be enough.
This has to be it, Mitchell.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought it before. I thought that in the preseason. I thought it last year. I always think it because it's not acceptable for the position. Like 76% for a kicker
Horrendous.
in the National Football League is horrible. That's a career. That's his career. He's a career 45 of 59, not including what happened today. So he'd be 46 of 62 if you included what happened today. And mind you, one of them got blocked, but that comes down to certain operation times, and everybody factors into that. But they got to block better. He got to kick better. But it's just an unacceptable thing. It's an unacceptable reality of the sport that you're a professional. It's like a quarterback throwing for 50%. Like eventually, you got to replace him, not because he's a bad person, not because you hate him, not because there's a standard that you expect. There's an expectation of the job. You got to be a pro. And kickers are held, they're a specialist. That's why they call them specialists. You have a special set of skills. Your special set of skills are kicking the ball through the uprights. And anything under 40 yards, you're expected to be perfect. Is that fair or not fair? I don't know. But that's what the expectation is in the National Football League. And most of the kickers in the National Football League under 40 yards are pretty much perfect. He's not, and he hasn't been. Under 40, he's almost perfect. He's, what is that? 16, 30. He's almost perfect. He's almost perfect. He's 20. Before today, he was 29 of 30. And then today he misses a clanker. I think it was, what was that, 28 yards, 38 yards?
27 yards.
27 yards. You can't have it. Like, those are things that your head coach should never go into a game thinking he has to go for it on 4th down because he doesn't think his kicker is gonna make the kick. If that's a mindset, if that's something that your head coach has to put in his subconscious, even under 40 yards, seems like they need to get somebody else to do the job, unfortunately. And I understand they used the 3rd-round pick on him. I thought that was unnecessary. I don't think anybody was like, man, we got to get this guy. We're going to get him before the Niners get him. Like, I don't think you ever have to do that for a kicker. There are a lot of people with a great leg. Yeah, we're talking about guys that literally learned how to kick in the last couple years and are professional kickers right now. Like the kicker for Jake for Detroit What's his name again?
Jake Bates.
Jake Bates. Wasn't it? Where was he working before he got the job?
He was working, he's plucking groceries, Richard. And then he goes to the USFL, and all of a sudden he's kicking the ball 60+ yards for field goals. This is what I'm talking about. I mean, we've talked about it off air 1,000 times. The kid from Hawaii walked off your university, Stanford University, your alma mater, Richard. And the kid, you learned how to kick off of YouTube. And here we are in the NFL, and you're drafting Jake Moody in the 3rd round to have this level of acceptance. I'm calling it quits on him, and it's not because I'm a Sparty. It's just because I'm pragmatic. I mean, let's be real here. It's time. But Richard, let's before we move on from this game, I want to get your impressions on Sam Darnold. Obviously, this is a new territory for him, and he targeted JSN a lot. He was 16 of 23 for 150 yards. 124 of that went to JSN. Richard, this is not Minnesota. You don't have the plethora of weapons that you had there. You got Jackson, Smith, and Jigba, and a little bit older Cooper Kupp. I mean, what are your thoughts on Sam Darnold's first impression with the Seattle Seahawks?
I thought he did solid. I didn't think he made any egregious mistakes. I don't think he held the team back. I think there was a bit of a conservative notion in pushing him out there and pushing the ball down the field, which I don't understand. And I wanted to see him push the ball down the field more. They had success when he did it. But bringing in Cooper Kupp when you had JSN didn't seem like a great call to me initially because they're similar. They're similar. You want them in the slot. You want them to win on 3rd down. You think those are the guys that are going to win inside for you. And you can't target them both. You can't look at them both. You can't usually keep them both on the same side. So then it leads to what you had today where you're saying, hey, JSN is our guy. Cooper's obviously our 2. But the plays that we would throw it to Cooper, JSN's running those plays. And so it kind of negates him in a way in all the things that make him special. It was similar to what happened to him in LA with the Rams. It's because Puka Nacua does those things. The things that made Cooper Kupp really special and thrive in all those slots and how great he is in short area quickness. They have somebody else to do that job and somebody else who they want to throw the ball to. So then you have to find something else for him to do. And he's not necessarily an outside receiver, an X that you just put out there one-on-one backside and expect him to win on go routes and comebacks. I'm sure he could do that, but that's not what he's done in this league. And so I think they're going to have to find another way to get him involved, another way to utilize him and JSN together, whether that's rotating him in or putting JSN on the outside and letting Cooper work on the inside or whatever the case may be. But he's going to need to be more productive than he was in this game. And he's going to need to be targeted more than he was in this game. If you're going to have the kind of offensive success that this offense is capable of, you're going to have to find a way. And this is why your concern level when you move a DK Metcalf goes up because he's a true X receiver, backside. Hey, one-on-one, we're throwing go routes, we're throwing hitches, we're throwing slants. Like we know that's where we're going with the football. And when you don't have that, they can bracket JSN, they can cloud it, they can zone, they can 3 over 4 or you know what I mean, 4 over 3 or 2 over 3, et cetera, et cetera. They can find a way to put more guys over JSN and over Cooper Kupp than you have. And so you can't just isolate him in the way that you could when you have a true X receiver on the backside. So I think this offense has a lot of room to grow. I think they executed their game plan solid versus a really talented defense with a few all-pros. And I think they're going to continue to learn and continue to elevate, and I look forward to seeing them next week.
Let's talk about the Detroit Lions against the Green Bay Packers. This loss for the Detroit Lions was demoralizing. Richard, we're coming into a season where everyone in the national media, local media, whatever you want to talk about, they're all talking about the same thing, and that's the loss of both the coordinators. Aaron Glenn, great showing, albeit in a loss with the Jets. You can see the identity of the Jets have shifted. Ben Johnson, we've got to see him perform with the Chicago Bears, but, we thought, hey, under this Dan Campbell regime, the next man up mentality has always stayed in place. And defensively, I wouldn't call it an issue. I mean, they didn't play the best, especially in the first half. Second half seemed to tighten up a bit. But what was most eye-opening to me was offensively. I mean, this is a team that was known for, first off, you have so many offensive weapons. I don't have to name them, but I will. I mean, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jameson Williams, Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery, Sam Laporta, just to name a few. And you don't utilize these guys. Jahmyr Gibbs had 10 receptions for 31 yards, Richard. I'm pretty sure I could go out there and do that same workload. I mean, it started from the first possession of the game. You saw it, and it was like, why aren't these guys taking shots downfield? They never took a single shot downfield until the game was out of control. And this is not the Detroit Lions that we're used to over the last 2-3 years. This was teams that were taking shots, the mid-range shots, the long-range shots, and you didn't see it at all. And I don't know if it's a situation where, hey, we lost Frank Ragnow. We lost Zeitler to the Tennessee Titans. The offensive guard, we're replacing two guys on the interior, but the Packers are good, and I'm not going to understate that by any means. Their pass rush is very sound. They got a very good defense, but to me, this looks like a game where the Lions, frankly, they've been in this ever since Dan Campbell took them over. They have not been playing their starters in preseason, and if there was ever any season to do that, it seems to me like it would be this season, because they looked ill-prepared, especially on the offensive side of the ball. Richard, I want to hear your thoughts, because I'm not in a situation right now where I'm saying, hey, the season's over, because I do believe that the Lions are going to get a lot better. It's only up from here. They played their D football, a D- football game today. They're only going to get better. But at what point, what are your thoughts on this game? Are the Lions, how scared should I be, I guess, is my question for you.
Scared? If we're talking a panic meter and we're saying 1 through 10, I would say it's 4, 5. Don't panic. It's the first game of the season. And there were some positives there defensively. I thought if Anzalone intercepts that errant pass from Jordan Love, I think that changes the game substantially, and we're having a whole different conversation. I didn't feel like their offense was just rolling down the field and just having their way with the Detroit Lions defense. I didn't think that at all. I didn't see that. I didn't feel that. I thought they held their own. I thought they made some plays. I thought there was a few plays they left out there. But I thought offensively, what the Green Bay Packers focused on this offseason, and obviously late into the offseason, up until last week, is pass rush. They saw that the way people had success against the Detroit Lions and beat them when they did the very few times they beat them last year, they hit Jared Goff early and often. They got pressure, and they got it with 4. They didn't blitz him. They didn't send all these exotic pressures. They got there with 4. They covered well on the back end. But they found a way. They said, hey, we're going to build this team to beat the Detroit Lions. We're going to create a ferocious pass rush with 4 guys swarming, have a great rotation. They have a great rotation of guys. They were 8th in sacks last year. And so adding Micah Parsons, even in the limited role that he was in today, made a difference. Like Rashawn Gary with a sack and a half. Wyatt, I think, had a sack. And then, of course, Micah Parsons, late in the game, finds a way to get a sack. And as he gets more comfortable rushing with these guys, I'm sure it'll get even better. But they built themselves, at least defensively, to cause this great offensive line that you've built over the years problems. And that's where things are getting murky because people are talking about the coordinators, which is solid, but the team isn't drastically different. That offensive line did not play as well as they usually play today. And that's been such a strength of this offense for the last couple years that you almost stop thinking about it. You're like, hey, they're going to open up holes for Jahmyr Gibbs and Montgomery. They're gonna give Jared Goff time to go execute, and they didn't today. He was under duress a lot of the times. I think he got sacked. He got sacked 3 or 4 times. Or he got sacked 4 times in this game. He didn't turn the ball over. It wasn't an awful game by any stretch of the imagination, but the Green Bay Packers showed they are a really, really good team. And I told you, Micah Parsons sent them from being a really good team to contenders. And they showed that against a team that was the 1 seed last year. Like, hey, these guys are for real. They are legitimate, and they should be treated accordingly. They will be in my top 5 this week. The Green Bay Packers fans were very upset. They deserve it, but you got to earn it on the field. You can't just say, on paper, we look like this and we should look like this, and they earned it on the field. And the same weakness and concern that I had for them before about winning a Super Bowl, I have for them now, and that's the quarterback position. Not because he's not talented enough, not because he's not doesn't have all the things that could do it. It's because sometimes his decision making and his mechanics just don't seem right. He's backing up off his back foot, lobs a pass that should have been intercepted by Anzalone and been a huge play in the ball game, but it gets dropped and everybody forgets about it. But those are the plays that have been an Achilles heel to this Green Bay Packers team, even with a really good defense, and it's caused issues when they've had defensive success or when their defense has had a little bit of an off game. He can't necessarily take them to the next step. And so hopefully this game is the first steps of him having that maturity. They have all the weapons they need. They drafted him more weapons. They got Josh Jacobs. They have all the ingredients to have a really great offense. They just have to put it together.
No,
their offensive line looked really good today too, by the way.
They did. I got it. Tip of the cap to the Green Bay Packers. I mean, they really put it all together. They look like a much better team this year, and I hate to say it, but I see them, at this point, I don't want to be a Monday morning quarterback, but they got to be the favorites to win the division right now. They just looked like the better team. They got it together defensively. The Lions have a lot to clean up, and they got to clean it up quick going into Chicago. You hate to see them going 0-2, especially against division rivals to start off the season. Richard, let's take it to the Friday night game. It was cool to see football on Friday night, and especially in Brazil. The Chiefs probably didn't like it, though. The Chiefs played the Chargers. They took a loss, and you do not see the Chargers beating the Kansas City Chiefs often. It's the first time they beat them since 2021, and they beat them pretty convincingly. It looked like they controlled most of that game. I mean, Patrick Mahomes and this team has been so dominant for years. It just seems like no matter what happens, the Chiefs win. And here we are, the start of the season, them going 0-1, and then next week they play the Philadelphia Eagles. This team could be facing 0-2, and I don't want to speak it into existence, but they could very much so be looking at an 0-2 start, the first time since God knows when. Richard, how concerned would you be if you're a Kansas City Chiefs fan right now?
Again, I think if it's a 1 through 10, I'm at a 5. Because I've fallen in this trap before, watching the Kansas City Chiefs. I've done it. I will not lie. They've been in the Super Bowl 5 of the last 6 years. And they've had starts like this. They've had starts where they just look like god awful. And you're like, what weapons do they have? How are they going to be expected to make it to the Super Bowl? They limp and their way through the season. They lackadaisical. They don't look that great offensively. Their defense is looking dominant, or vice versa. Their defense isn't looking the best and their offense looks dominant. Or Patrick Mahomes is throwing a lot of interceptions early and you think, oh man, he's lost it. They figured him out. And then they make a late run in December. Whether they're the 1 seed or the 5 seed in a wild card, they run through the playoffs, whether they're home or away. They find a way to win and find a way to win. Even in a game, I thought they were thoroughly dominated. you look at the final score, it's 21-27, and it could have been closer than that because the Chiefs were in scoring range, and they kicked a field goal because they thought they could get it back, and they thought they wouldn't have enough time otherwise. I think they score right there, and then it's 24-27 at the end of the game, final score, and you're talking about a game they got dominated. So I'm not panicking if I'm those fans, but what I am, if I'm the LA Chargers and I'm their fans, I'm feeling ecstatic because this is the Justin Herbert that everybody's talked about and everybody thought he would be. Everybody, when he came out of Oregon and he was one of the most heralded prospects, one of them, the generational talents, the arm talent, the athleticism, the speed, the size, the IQ, the brainiac. I lost to him in a chess match. Mitchell, we had a chess tournament, and I had him dead to rights. I lost on time, but we're going to talk about that another day. But a brilliant mind and a very quick processor with great accuracy and all those other things, but there was always something holding him back. In his 2 playoff games, he hasn't necessarily played well, had 4 interceptions in one. I thought he had 3 interceptions last year. And so those were the criticisms, and they were rightfully so. And everybody on the other side, the Chargers side, was like, he doesn't have the weapons. He doesn't have this. He doesn't have that. And you look up in this game, and it's pretty much the same weapons, the same cast of characters. They brought Keenan Allen back, a Charger great. And they brought, Najee Harris. They drafted
Amarian
Hampton. Yep, they drafted Hampton, but I'm not saying those guys, like you brought in a number 1 all-pro receiver. Quentin Johnson looks really good now. All of a sudden, he's playing like he was capable of playing. Lab McConkey looked good last year, looks good this year. But it's Herbert and his ability to elevate the guys around him that really shined in this game. And his legs and decision-making and confidence and it was all there, Mitchell. It was all there on display. And you talk about a top 5 quarterback. When you look at this game and you watch how he played, sure, he took the 3 sacks, but, when you lose your all-pro tackle and for the season, right before the season starts, you're going to have some issues on the offensive line. I'm sure they'd be feeling really good if they had Rashawn Slater on that side, protecting him with Joe Alt. But unfortunately, they lost him for the season. But I thought this Justin Herbert, maybe it's Jim Harbaugh and everything that he's bring. They call him the quarterback whisperer. He has Trey Lance looking great, but this is the best Justin Herbert has looked, at least against the Kansas City Chiefs, I think, in his time with the LA Chargers.
No question about it. I don't know what it is with Jim Harbaugh, as much as I do not like the guy being a U of M guy and me being a Sparty, but like, if Justin Herbert plays this level of football week in, week out, it's going to be hard to keep him out of the MVP conversation, honestly, Richard. I mean, this Chargers team, this LA Chargers team, looks like they could be top of that division. I honestly, when they played this way, and you look at the additions they made, and I know it might have been a late addition with an older wide receiver, but the reality is Keenan Allen is used to this team. He's used to this environment. Bringing him back, I feel like it adds an extra safety blanket for Justin Herbert, and you saw that. And you saw Quentin Johnson ball out. I mean, I know the guy is not the most sure-handed receiver, but in terms of making big plays, he did just that. And then Lad McConkey, I mean, this is Wes Welker reincarnate for the LA Chargers. You got to love to see it. Kansas City Chiefs, when I leave this game, I'm worried if I'm a Chiefs fan. I'll just leave it at that, especially when you go to play the Eagles. Richard, we got to talk about these Las Vegas Raiders against the...
Wait, because I can't leave without talking about...
Talk your talk.
The defense, Mitchell. The defense for the LA Chargers. They've always been a really talented group, but they played lights out. They were swarming. They were all over the place. They played with confidence. They executed. There's not enough positive things to say about what they did, and if they continue to play like that. I watched the Denver Broncos today against the Tennessee Titans. They did not look great offensively. Their defense looked really solid against the Tennessee Titans offense that is young and inexperienced with a rookie quarterback who I expect to do really well in this league. But I think the Chargers are in a driver's seat, especially with this win against the Kansas City Chiefs. I think defensively, offensively, they're showing that they right now are the class of this division until proven otherwise. I think the Raiders looked good. Geno Smith, 300 yards passing in New England, which is a tough place to play. A touchdown and a win, sure. But the way the Chargers look on both sides of the ball, well coached.
Derwin James. That's the name I want to throw out there. The most sure at tackling safety in the league. Derwin James has always had that skill set for them. But him being healthy, this Chargers team is something to look after. I think we got to put a pin in this team because there's somebody that I think could make some noise, especially in that division.
We are excited to announce our new presenting sponsor, Hard Rock Bet. You know the Hard Rock hotels and casinos, and now you can use the top-rated Hard Rock Bet sportsbook to place bets all NFL season long and beyond. Hard Rock Bet is the only legal sports book in the state of Florida and is also available in Arizona, Ohio, New Jersey, Indiana, Tennessee, Virginia, Illinois, and Colorado, with more states launching all the time. You can also play on Hard Rock Bet's online casino if you're in New Jersey. From here on out, Mitch and I will be using the Hard Rock Bet lines when we're talking about games. We'll also be doing some live shows and some meet and greets at the Hard Rock properties in Florida. As we gear up for the NFL season, sign up for Hard Rock Bet and make a $5 bet, and you'll get $150 in bonus bets if you win. Head over to Hard Rock Bet, sign up, and make your first deposit today.
Let's talk Pete Carroll, this Las Vegas Raiders team. I know they're against the New England Patriots, but the reality is expectations were a little bit higher for the Patriots this year. They go on the road, they get a win. Geno Smith throws for 362 yards. He got comfortable real quick. He found his favorite wideout, the tight end, Brock Bowers, and you see Jacoby Myers getting involved. You got to love what you saw week one from this offense with the Raiders. I mean, your thoughts on Geno and Pete Carroll?
This is what I thought it would be for them. When I talked about the Raiders and people kept asking me, how you think Pete's going to do? I think Pete's going to do great because Pete's not trying to reinvent the wheel. He has a proven system that works. It's like building a car. Sure, have cars changed since 19 whatever when they were first invented and people started driving? Sure. But the fundamental 4 wheels, an engine, a radiator, a gas tank, Mitchell, has not changed very much. Now people change the outer layer and put the fancy interior, the new leather and the new electronics, but the foundational design of a car has not changed a lot. And so when people say, oh, Pete Carroll isn't keeping up with the times, he's still running that old system that nobody runs, it's sound. It's sound as ever. And you could see it in that Raiders defense. They're not giving up a ton rushing. They're right there where they're supposed to be. It's a bend but don't break. They're swarming. They're playing really fast. You got guys where they're supposed to be. They got an interception in the game. They got 4 sacks in the game. And they're playing smart football. Then offensively, you see Geno Smith, who can deal. I know people thought, oh, it's just a fluke in Seattle, and he had that 1 year. No, mentally he's figured it out. He's processing. He's a great processor in the NFL, and it shows week in and week out. He was dealing to these tight ends, both Mayer and Brock Bowers. He also had some cool passes to you just said his name.
Jacoby Myers.
Sorry. He had some great plays to Jacoby Myers, but he just looks like he's in command. I know last year everybody was down on him. I thought the offensive line he was playing behind just didn't have enough. They were beat up. They were injured, had some holes, had some issues. But when he has time, Geno Smith can deal. And even on the interception today to Brock Bowers, it hit Brock. It appeared to me like it hit Brock Bowers' hands, got tipped up in the air, intercepted. It didn't seem like it was one of those passes where Geno just threw it to the other team, or he just made a bad read, or the ball slipped out of his hand. I thought it was a solid pass. Maybe he forced it into a little tight coverage, and it was a contested catch. But I didn't think it was a bad decision overall. And I think 362 yards on this defense. I feel good about that. I'm sure Raiders fans feel real confident. I thought their defense played really well. And I think, again, Pete Carroll is not going to be out of many of these games. You're not going to find many games where Pete Carroll just their team gets beat by 2 touchdowns or 3 touchdowns. Like, even when we weren't a great team, we didn't lose by much if we lost. We're within 1 score by the end of the game. We're in striking range. We're fighting. And I think he has all the pieces that he needs to make these plays and continue to make a run. Even with this defense not as technically talented as the rest of the league, he knows what the guys that he needs, and he's going to make it work. And I think the Raiders are going to surprise people this year. I think they're going to be solid. I think they're going to be fighting for that 7th seed.
I love to see it, man. I mean, the Raiders, whether they're going to be contenders or not, I don't think they'll be that. But above anything, I think they're going to be a solid competitor throughout. And a team that caught me really by surprise, Richard, and a player that caught me really by surprise, Pittsburgh Steelers, Aaron Rodgers. This game right here, the New York Jets, when you look at this game, Pittsburgh against the Jets, what do you think of, Richard? I don't know if I want to watch it. Richard, this might have been the game of the day. I mean, you want to talk about an absolute shootout, 34-32. Steelers, beautiful win late. Aaron Rodgers, who is this guy? 244 yards, 4 TDs, and he found himself a new target in DK Metcalf that he appears to love, but he was spreading that football around. You saw Calvin Austin get involved. I mean, you got to be curious to see what they do in the running game. They were getting everyone involved with that. I mean, what are your expectations of the Pittsburgh Steelers after this win?
I think they're going to be in the mix. This is the first time in a long time that they've had a great quarterback. And not to say Aaron is playing necessarily in the spot where he's at his prime. Obviously, he's past his prime. He's past all that. But Ben Roethlisberger, they had great quarterback, took them to Super Bowls, won Super Bowl. Aaron can do it. And you saw some vintage play from Aaron Rodgers. Some of the wrist flicks, the famous wrist flicks that just look so beautiful on the run, rolling out. He looked as mobile as he's looked. You didn't see any lingering effects from the Achilles injury. Sure, he took some sacks. He took some hits. He kept on pushing.
Where's that hit, Richard? Big hit. He took a big lick. Let's not mistake that.
No question about it. But he's from that old guard. He's from that old guard of quarterbacks. And we always talk about the new guys, the Herberts, the Josh Allens, the Lamar Jacksons, the Pat Mahomes. But with that old guard, the Drew Brees, Tom Brady, the Aaron Rodgers, Peyton Manning's, even Flacco's from that old guard of quarterbacks that just before the rules totally changed. They played a different game. He was playing in the 2000s. And so he's a tough quarterback. He's still wearing a shut helmet, Mitchell, and he's wearing an illegal helmet. I don't think the league allows anybody else to wear that helmet but him because his grandfather's in. And I'm pretty sure he has to sign a waiver to wear it because that helmet does not pass the safety tests that a lot of these helmets must pass in the NFL to be used. That's how old school Aaron Rodgers is. He still wears the one chin strap. All of it. But for him to have the game that he had for the Pittsburgh Steelers, I know they're what they've just seen from their offense for the last couple of years. It's just been anemic. It's been defensive game after defensive game after defensive game. And to see your defense kind of struggle, you don't see many times they're giving up 32 points and feeling good about that. It's a lot of money on that defense, Mitchell. You're paying $27 million to Jalen Ramsey at the corner. I think you're paying 10 to Slay. You're paying Hayward close to 30. You're paying Watt 40. You're not expecting to give up 32 points. But when you do, and you have a quarterback who can get you out of it, and win the game. And the game-winning field goal, did you see it from Boswell Mitchell?
I did. It wasn't a gimme.
From the logo.
That was not a gimme.
They were on the logo. Game winner from the logo. I mean, they just had to be ecstatic. And another person I was ecstatic for was Justin Fields.
Hell yes.
What a game for him. What a game for Justin Fields. Got to show his true talent. And what he got to show was who he has been at Ohio State and what they drafted. And sometimes you need a change of scenery. And Aaron Rodgers, they literally flipped scenes. And both of them are thriving in their new situations. You can see how Aaron Glenn wants to use him with his legs, with his arm. Breece Hall continuing to thrive. You see the passing game open up. Garrett Wilson, he's hitting Garrett Wilson in stride. You can see their chemistry from many years at OSU. That was really cool to see, just a team maximizing the strengths and talent of their team, of their players, of their personnel. He had 2 touchdowns rushing, 1 passing touchdown. Garrett Wilson, 7 catches for 95 yards. And it was great to see. Quinnen Williams made huge plays in this ball game, put a lot of pressure on Aaron Rodgers, huge hits on Aaron Rodgers, TFLs. He continued to show what makes him special. But this was a barn burner. And I think this showed very positive promise for both of these offenses, these quarterbacks. Another quarterback, not to leave this game without putting a ribbon on it, but this was great. The Pittsburgh Steelers won. I think they're going to be competitive in the North. But Daniel Jones, a quarterback who's been much maligned, and I've had enough negative things to say to fill up a cavern with, because he hasn't played well. And sometimes you can't tell if it's the player just not being good enough or the situation that he's in not being good enough. It's hard to figure it out. But today it looks like he's in the perfect situation with the Indianapolis Colts, both running and passing. He took a shot from Matthew Judon in that game early in the first quarter, and I thought that was it for him. I thought he was going to be in concussion protocol, and we're going to be looking at somebody else play quarterback for the Indianapolis Colts. But he did something that no quarterback in the last 50 years has done. None of the greats. No Tom Brady, not Aaron Rodgers, not Peyton Manning, not Drew Brees, not Montana, not Elway, not any of them, Mitchell. Daniel Jones did it. He led 7 straight scoring drives. Not one drive did he line up under center that they did not get points. That's never happened before.
It's
look it up.
It's wild to think about, but I mean, we've had the case studies in front of us for the last 5 years, right? You saw Baker Mayfield jump from Cleveland to Carolina to Tampa Bay, and now he's become one of the bigger and better quarterbacks in this league. We've seen it with Sam Darnold doing the same kind of thing, going from the Jets to Carolina to San Francisco to Minnesota, where he finds his promised land and gets his big payday and then ends up with Seattle. Maybe the change of scenery is a good thing from Daniel Jones, Richard. I mean, because this guy looked like he was in total command of this offense. And I'm not going to lie to you, I did not think in my wildest dreams that the Dolphins were going to lose this game. I know they had a rough preseason. I know Detroit smacked them around pretty good in joint practices up here in Detroit. But I thought the Dolphins, with everything they got with Tua, with Tyreek, with Jalen Waddle, that they would go out there and get the win. But this was not even close, and it was from the onset. Daniel Jones set the tone, and they were nasty. I mean, the Indianapolis Colts, I don't want to speak too soon, but if Daniel Jones keeps playing this level of football, this division for the Indianapolis Colts could look very promising.
No question about it. I mean, this is a huge surprise. The Miami Dolphins looked like a disaster.
Terrible.
I mean, you talk about Tua Tagovailoa, who was at times in his career a fringe top 10 quarterback, and debate with somebody else because he played good football.
He did.
And he looks like a totally different guy. He looks shell-shocked. He almost looks like he did his rookie year when he had just first started getting in there and getting reps when they replaced my guy, Ryan Fitzpatrick, during Flores' tenure with the Miami Dolphins, where it just didn't look like the system worked for him. Well, you're in the same system that you've been in. You got your money. You've been consistent. Tyreek Hill is in the lineup. Waddle's in the lineup. You have your weapons. A chain's in the lineup. What's holding him back? And maybe the offensive line didn't block that great. Maybe that there's pieces of that there. But like he's been the last few years so decisive, so quick. Like he's been quick release. When you talk about time to release, he's been among the league leaders in getting the ball out quick. In this game, he just was holding on to it. He looked vexed. He looked perplexed. And I know Lou Anarumo's defense is complicated. It's he throws a lot of different exotic looks out there. I know it didn't always work out in Cincinnati, but he was working with a bare cupboard out in Cincinnati. It looks like he has this Indianapolis Colts defense playing great football. Multiple interceptions today, forced fumbles. I mean, they were flying around. They looked like a confident bunch, and they were just feeding off the offense. You look at both sides of it, and you think, hey, this Indianapolis Colts team all of a sudden looks like a very complete team. And now what is this AFC South looking like, who, when you thought it was a foregone conclusion that it was going to the Houston Texans, who just lost to the LA Rams today, it looks like the Indianapolis Colts will be factoring in on that. They will be a big factor in that. And that's when you start to get concerned about a lot of other things going on. But Daniel Jones looks like he found a good system, a good fit for his talent, his skill set. Ran for 2 touchdowns today, threw for another touchdown, looked comfortable, accurate, confident, all the things that you rarely could ever say about him when he was with the New York Giants.
That change of scenery could have done the best thing ever for Daniel Jones' career. There might have been a reason he was drafted top 10, because there were so many people that debated it and said there's no way this guy's not a first-round pick to begin with, but he certainly looked like it tonight. Kudos to the Indianapolis Colts for taking a shot on him and saying, hey, Anthony Richardson, you're going to have to take a back seat to him to begin the year, because it looks like they might have found their guy finally in Indianapolis. Richard, we got to talk about the Washington Commanders and the New York Giants. I mean, there's a lot of question marks around this New York Giants team, as there should be, namely at the quarterback position. A guy you played with for a number of years, Russell Wilson, steps under center for the New York Giants. Not that great of a game, a little bit underwhelming, I guess, what you would expect to see from Russell at this point in his career, but it seemed like he was a bit conservative with the football. Didn't give his team a whole lot of chances. They ended up losing 21-6. Russell is 17 of 37 for 168. That is an abysmal performance for Russell Wilson. I got to hear your thoughts, man, as he steps into the reins in New York.
Now, you knew when he, and people will keep, they feel how they feel about how I feel about Russell Wilson. I just tell the truth, guys. There's not an emotional aspect of it to me that people think. He just hasn't played well in these systems with these new teams, and it's fine. But this offensive line didn't give him a lot of time today. It wasn't a great opportunity for him to have success. I thought the Washington Commanders did a great job with coverage, exotic looks, putting pressure on him. They also controlled the clock. They ran the ball well. But I thought he was conservative with the football. He didn't want to push the ball down the field unless it was an obvious one-on-one situation with neighbors. I thought he looked like he normally looks. He checked the ball down and looked for yak. They tried to throw some screens and things like that, but I didn't think he wanted to put the ball in danger very often. I don't think he took a lot of quote-unquote risks that would have given his team a chance, would have given him a chance to turn the ball over or given his team a chance to make a huge play. He was 17 of 37, so they threw the ball a lot. He just didn't complete a lot of those passes, obviously. He was only sacked twice, but I thought there were other opportunities he had to be sacked where, he either got out of it or threw the ball away or something like that. But I think they're going to have to make a decision on whether they want to put Jackson Dart in and start letting him develop. I know they don't feel great about this offensive line, but Jackson Dart was very productive in the preseason. He looked like a guy who executes the offense really well, and you just don't want to fall into too deep of a hole during the season where the rest of the team start to say, hey, this is just another bad season, and start mailing it in. You know, you're 0-1. You still got a chance. You still got confidence. You still have a really good defensive line that I thought could have played better, but you were going against a team that played in the NFC Championship last year, and the Washington Commanders. They have a really good defense. They're really talented. They're really veteran. I thought Lattimore is a good player. Obviously, our guy, friend of the program, Bobby Wagner, one of my best friends, is playing really good football still to this day. Deebo Samuel.
Love to see it.
Tyshawn had a rushing touchdown, 19 yards for this team. He was their leading receiver in this game. I thought he had a tremendous impact and did everything he could. Obviously, you could see the rust there for Terry McLaurin, his connection with Jaden Daniels, but I thought Jaden Daniels played a really good game, was accurate, and made great decisions. 68 yards rushing, was in command of it. But I think in order for them to take the next step, you're going to have to see if Jackson Dart is the guy. I know you brought Russ in because you weren't sure what you're going to get in the draft and who you were going to get, but I think with Malik Neighbors, and you could see his frustration on the sideline during this game, something is going to have to change.
100%.
If you're just going to have to tell Russ, hey, you're going to have to put the ball up. You're going to have to give him a shot. You're going to have to keep giving him opportunities and push the ball out. You can't just throw it away or hold on to the football. You got to give these guys a chance, win or lose. You know, this isn't going to be a great offense with him playing in a conservative way like he has. When you have a generational defense or a phenomenal defense like he's had in a lot of the games that he's won, then sure, you can play not to lose the game. You can play, check the ball down, few big plays here, and then in the fourth quarter, take a few shots and still win the ball game. You can turn the ball over, still depend on your defense and win the ball game. But when your defense isn't playing well or you don't have the weapons, they're going to need him to elevate this team more. They're going to need him to take those opportunities and really showcase his talent, to elevate them, showcase his connection with Neighbors, to really elevate this team and to win games like this. I thought they stuck around in this ball game. It was 6-14 for a really long time. I mean, their defense kept them in it, and their offense just never made the plays necessary. They kept sticking around. If you would have looked up and saw 6-14, 6-14, 6-14, like, hey, they can just make a play somewhere and you can win this game. And I thought they could possibly steal one on the road in Washington. But I think if it happens like this again next week, I think they're going to have to make a decision to go with Jackson Dart, because
they're going to have.
How much time does Daboll have left?
He's got very minimal time left. That's the reality of it. I mean, you look at the performance Daniel Jones had today in Indianapolis. If he were at the helm at New York, I mean, in this game, because the defense gave him a shot, only giving up 21 points. And like you said, they were in it. It's not like they were out of it. If you had a more competent, and that's why I love the Jameis Winston signing this offseason. I know the guy's got a lot of quirks, but I love me some Jameis Winston. I would not mind him at all in Detroit as a backup quarterback. The reality is this guy gives his receivers ample opportunity. Whether it ends up in the opposition's hand or not is a story that, he probably doesn't want written. But I promise you, I think Malik Neighbors would prefer him at quarterback. I'm telling you that if you ask Malik Neighbors who he wants at quarterback, I would assume it would be Jameis Winston, because he gives these guys opportunities. And that's what I think the New York Giants need. They need someone who's going to give their receivers, give their skill position players an opportunity. And I just don't know if Russell's the guy.
They're not good enough to play the brand that Russell plays.
Exactly.
They're not a good enough team. To play the brand that Jameis plays, they're fine, because it's going to be a feast or famine. Like, he's either going to throw for 304 TDs and everybody's going to eat, or he's going to throw 5 interceptions. You're going to lose anyway by 3 touchdowns. And it is what it is, but your receivers are going to get opportunities. The ball is going to be pushed down the field. The offense is going to be executed. The risks are going to be taken, and you're going to see that. I don't know what you're going to get out of Jackson Dart. He's a rookie. He played well in the preseason. He executed the offense in the preseason, but the regular season could be totally different. But I don't think playing a conservative, hey, we're going to check the ball down, I'm going to throw it to the swing, and he's going to get me 5 or 6 yards. if we got Malik Neighbors one-on-one, I'll put it up. But if he's not one-on-one, I'm probably not going to try it. Like, I don't think with a team like this who need a boost, that's going to get it done.
No, it's not. Let's talk about the Cardinals. There's not much to talk about here. They played the Saints. I don't know what to expect of the Saints. They kept it somewhat close. They had an opportunity down the stretch to tie the game up late and naturally didn't. The Cardinals go on the road, get a win. Kyler Murray looked somewhat impressive, albeit his stat line didn't look great. I know he was sick coming into this game. Marvin Harrison Jr. finally looked like he was a top 10 pick that he was. Your thoughts on this Arizona Cardinals team, especially in the NFC West division? Do you have any, hesitation when it comes to the San Francisco 49ers, Seattle Seahawks? What is this opposition like in the Arizona Cardinals?
Well, I like the Arizona Cardinals and what they do defensively. I mean, I just think the Saints aren't a great team right now. A lot of people have them picking in the top of the draft next year, which means they're having an awful season. So a 20-13 ball game against the Saints when the Saints had a chance in the red zone to tie this game at the end of the game. I don't know if you feel great about it. Kyler Murray was sacked 5 times. Marvin Harrison made some huge plays, and you feel great about that. Budda Baker, their most consistent player over the years, continues to be that. I don't think this game really gives us much about who the Cardinals are. We're going to see them. We're going to have to see them in the division versus the Rams, versus the Seahawks, versus the San Francisco 49ers for us to really assess how strong this team is. But a win is a win in the National Football League, and they won this game. They found a way to get it done. But I don't think this game told us anything.
And then we got to look at the LA Rams. I mean, they get the win, albeit nothing flashy. I mean, they won 14-9. Puka Nacua got absolutely smoked, and so did Devontae Adams. I mean, you saw that hit with Derek Stingley Jr. just getting bent over. It was just a nasty, gruesome hit. You got to look at it and see this Rams team and say, wow, we're lucky to even walk away from this game with both of our top wideouts still able to play next week. It's a big win for them, the grand scheme of things. The Houston Texans are no easy opponent, and they get a home win against them. Your thoughts on Stafford? A relatively impressive game, 245 yards passing with a touchdown. Puka Nacua, 10 receptions for 130 yards. Your thoughts on this LA Rams team?
Well, they're anytime you have Stafford out there, you're going to have a chance. But I thought they battled. I thought this was a gritty, grimy game where they had to scratch and claw, but it just shows their poise, their mettle against a Houston Texans team that is expected to be really competitive on the AFC side. A really good defense, really great defensive line and pass rush. They got 3 sacks today. A quarterback who's considered one of the top in the National Football League, at least the top 10 quarterback in the National Football League, and they held this team to 9 points. They held him to 9 points. They held Stroud to 188 yards passing, no touchdowns, an interception, and they sacked him 3 times. I think you have to give this defense a lot of credit. And the interception, I mean, by Durant, it was incredible. I don't know if you saw it, Mitchell, but it was a sideline grab, barely got his feet in. It looked like the receiver might have caught it. He took it off the receiver's hands. It was a beautiful play. But you got to give this defense a lot of credit. They weren't expected to be anything super special. Their D-line has a lot of talent. Obviously, Jared Verse is a household name these days. And again, they gave the Philadelphia Eagles all they could handle in that divisional game in the snow in Philadelphia. And if it wasn't for Jalen Carter and the play he made at the end of that game, we may have been having a different NFC Championship game between the Washington Commanders and the LA Rams, and who knows how that would have went and how the Super Bowl would have changed accordingly. But it didn't. But you're just talking about how competitive this team is. You talk about how great Sean McVay and their defensive coordinator Chris Shula have been in just maximizing the talent that they have. And I think that's what the definition, that's what defined this game. Stafford continues to find a way to get things done, but that defense is really what won this game.
And finally, Richard, we got to talk about Pat Surtain. I mean, we can talk about the game if you want. Denver took down the Tennessee Titans, but Pat Surtain did not allow a catch as the nearest defender on 34 defensive snaps for the eighth time in his career. I know you respect him as a player, but how good is this guy? I mean, break him down for our audience here because you are the perfect person to talk to about cornerback play in this league.
I tried to explain it many times before. He's just the most sound, technically, the best in moments. And you talk about if you talk about the balance of a cornerback, his press coverage. How great is he at press coverage? We would say Patrick Surtain is 98. How great is his off coverage? If you talk about Patrick Surtain, you're talking about like a 98. How great is he at tackling? Again, he's very sound. I'd say 92. Um, Very fast, very athletic, great ball skills. He's just a guy that has a high IQ. He's tailor made to cover people. Mitchell, you could. I'm surprised his father didn't put Blanket in there as his nickname, Mitchell, because he's always so covering guys so well. He's always there. He always near. He got one target today and he batted it down. The reason he won't have the high interception numbers is because they won't continue to target him. They'll go at Riley Moss or anybody but Patrick Surtain because of how great he is. And it's regardless of who the number one receiver is. He was on Calvin Ridley, 27 of his 32 routes. Obviously, Calvin Ridley didn't have a great game. And he's the best the National Football League has to offer right now at the cornerback spot. I think if they go to the Olympics and have 7-on-7 and do all that, he's going to be involved in it. I would imagine whoever you have, you better bring Patrick Surtain. He's the best cover corner in the National Football League. And I think, again, when you talk about just looking at his tape, his tape will be used to teach corners how to play the position for years to come. I'm talking about press, off, the patience, his step, replays, his soft shoe. He's just an incredibly technical corner who also is really athletic and is a gamer. He plays well on game day. I got to go through the all 22 to really break down the specific coverages that they're running, but they're running a lot of man coverage. That's what Vance Joseph likes to run. That's the corners that he employs. That's the defense that they employ majority of the time. So I wouldn't guess that he's in zones or anything like that. He's playing man-to-man coverage and he's thriving. He's, again, the class of the NFL. He's the reigning defensive player of the year. There's not enough positive things to say about it.
Well, Richard, that was week one. I mean, it was great to be back, first and foremost. We love you guys. We appreciate you tuning in every week. Richard, I know you're going to be out here week in and week out. We got Darius Big Play Slade joining the podcast here weekly. We're going to have another host of guests. How excited are you, Richard Sherman, to be back here with the Richard Sherman podcast? We've been talking a lot, or you have been talking a lot this offseason, but we finally got some real games to talk about. How pumped are you to have week one upon us?
I'm incredibly excited, and I'm thankful for every single one of you that tuned in, that listened to me every single week. I really appreciate you from the bottom of my heart for supporting this dream and my ambition to speak this game and to incite, to inject my knowledge and opinion on all of you wonderful people. I really appreciate it. I think this is going to be a fantastic year. I love it for the teams that won. If your team lost, don't lose hope. All is not lost. Just about every team, minus the Miami Dolphins. That was
rough.
Showed some promise, showed some positive things, showed some things that their team can build on. One loss does not end the season. One win doesn't guarantee you a Super Bowl. So keep hope alive. It's going to be a phenomenal year, and I cannot wait. Make sure you hit that sub button if you're new. Stay with us all season long because we're going to be providing incredible NFL insight all season long. We're going to have some Pittsburgh Steelers insight when Big Play sight, because I got some questions in that game. I know they're going to feel good about the win, but I know Big Play, they don't want to give up 32 points. A lot of money on that defense. So I can't wait to talk to Big Play about that game, the big hit by Jalen Ramsey, all those great things going forward. Stay tuned.